Let's go.
Wednesday afternoon.
Possibly of something like the rainbow colours, and I don't know whether they actually put the Palestinian flag. There were things like that. Maybe they didn't. Can't remember. But again, they were almost poking their noses into trying to show support for something that's not, if you like, a national thing, but rather specific. And it's not, in my view, it's not the way to go. You've got to stay out of all that stuff. We want to see football. Football can support its many causes. I like the fact that lots of teams, particularly Premier League teams, their players do a lot of charity work in their time that they're not training and so on like that. That's good. But to actually kind of make all this official, that, I don't even agree really with taking the knee, which still goes on in the women's game, I believe.
Right.
It's certainly every game last season. And it may be this season. I mean, I've not really seen the beginnings of many women's games. I have watched them. And once in a while, the men's game. Now, of course, all of us would agree with, people's lives matter. All people's lives matter, and so on. But I don't know why the Premier League officials, the owners, the bosses think they have to be so visible in anything that could actually cause issues, like the captains being told to, I think if they didn't want to wear the rainbow armband, they didn't have to. Ironically, the Ipswich captain last night didn't wear his. I don't think he wore it at the weekend because, whatever reasons, I don't know. But that people must have the right to say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take the knee, or I do want to take the knee, etc., etc. So I think the FA are foolish to start threatening a very good footballer, an England player, the Palace captain, and someone who clearly has his own principles, and good for him, threatening him with bringing the game into disrepute. To me, that seems absolute nonsense.
It does.
Which is not to say that I don't think players should be wearing unauthorised things on their shirts. I mean, as it is, they have sponsors which go on there. But, I suppose if someone is wearing something he may not feel comfortable wearing and he wants to write something else on it, well, good for him. That's what I say. It's best to leave all of that stuff to one side, really, and just make it the football that we see, the great game.
Yeah. I mean, that's just brought up another issue in my head, which is about the national anthem. Would you be offended if a player didn't sing the national anthem or didn't?
Again, it's become the in word nowadays, isn't it? Offended, people are offended, and if it's absolute nonsense in life generally that somebody is offended. I remember it's been so many cases, but I think sometime a shop was playing some Christian tunes. I don't know whether they were hymns, and somebody of another religion, whatever it may have been, I don't know, complained to the police, and therefore the police say, we're duty bound to go round to the cake shop or whatever it was and tell them to stop playing that music. It wasn't something weird or esoteric, to use that word. It was just a mainstream Christian song or caroling. I can't remember what it was, a year or two ago now. But offence, if someone takes offence, then these days we understand the police want to get involved. Now, actually, we all get offended sometimes about things, and all I would say is, so what? That's part of life, isn't it? But would I be offended? What was your question? If what?
Right. Would you be offended if a certain player decides not to sing
the national anthem? Yeah. Well, yes and no.
Right.
I mean, there is a player, isn't there? I think he might play for Wrexham now. I can't think of his name. He's an Irish chap. And going back a few years, he never sings the national anthem. And I don't know whether he turns his back on it. Possibly not. But he doesn't sing it. Now, it's up to him. I suppose he feels, I won't say what he feels. It's obviously quite a political view, which, again, is probably best left outside of football. Yeah. I was a bit disappointed that Lee Carsley didn't sing the national anthem. Now, again, ultimately, people have their choice, whether to take the knee, whether to wear the armband, and that's right. I don't think anybody should be compelled to do anything. But I like to see a sense that the players are proud to play for their country. And I mean, on the point generally, I have a view of national anthems. I think it's only right if England actually had its own national anthem, because we've got God Save the King, obviously, but the other countries, the three home countries, all have effectively very much their own.
Soft family and the ladies, Dr. Gladys and Phantom and Rose. We all have a lovely show every weekday, so join us for a lovely show.
Say hello to Phantom, Dr. Gladys.
But the other countries, the three home countries, all have effectively very much their own national anthems. And I think it's a great shame that we don't. The beautiful tune Jerusalem talks about England and its history and Christ walking on the hills and so on. It's a perfect song, really, for the English national anthem. But again, not to be political in any way, but it just seems that whereas the Scots, the Irish, the Northern Irish and the Welsh have their own governments effectively under devolution, there's not a single government representing the English, which is by far the biggest country, which, must mean something. And so I think we lose out because we're part of four, and we're never really allowed. We're the one country not allowed, so we feel our politicians tell us, to be proud of our own country. So, I have a bit of a thing about that, but I do think we should have our own national anthem. But either way, I like to see our footballers sing it, men and women, before the game starts, because you can tell, actually, for the most part, they seem full of pride. And who wouldn't be, playing game you love, whatever that game may be, and singing the country's, God Save the King is still our anthem, singing it with a bit of gusto to show you love to wear the shirt of your country. And I think that's great. But no, to answer your question, I'm not offended by someone who doesn't, depending, I suppose, on their reasons. But it's up to them. I'm not going to start, suggesting people are forced to do that. But I do like it. I think Gareth Southgate, actually, your friend Gareth, I'm sure I think he encouraged the players to sing it, and I thought that was good. I do, because the way he sang it, he meant it. He loves England. He loves playing for England. And I think sometimes those of us who feel this way, that we feel we should be allowed to be proud of being English. Let's say English. There was a beautiful song quite a few years ago now, probably, I don't know.
Right.
It might be 20 years, I can't remember, but Ralph McTell, who wrote and sang The Streets of London, I think that was in the 70s, but he had another song, possibly in the 80s, probably in the 90s, called England. I can remember that song, and I actually, at the time, I bought the 45-inch single, I think,
right,
a long time ago. But beautiful song, but I don't know whether it's correct to say it was eventually banned because it was politically wrong to sing about England in the United Kingdom, which is kind of how it gets sometimes. It may not have been banned, but it was dropped from the playlists of radios and all the rest of it, because how dare we celebrate being English or how beautiful our landscape is? And that is not right. We quite rightly say Scotland is a beautiful country. I mean, it really is. The Highlands of Scotland, the mountains, some skiing, all the rest of it. It's a beautiful country, and they've got strong attributes. They've had the North Sea oil and all the rest of it. And the same, Wales. I've holidayed quite a few times in Wales in the past, and again, it's a beautiful landscape there, beautiful country in so many ways. I've never been to Ireland or Northern Ireland, but I had relatives who I think are from Southern Ireland. But again, Northern Ireland, it's had its problems, but it's a very powerful, popular, beautiful place in so many ways. But somehow you just feel that in England, we're not really allowed to kind of celebrate the beauty of England and the positives, the contributions that England and the English make. So no, I'm not being political. I just say Yeah, be to anybody. Try and be proud of, and as most people are, of our heritage. And
Soft Family, and the ladies, Dr. Gladys and Phantom, and Rose. We all have a lovely show every weekday. So join us for a lovely show.
Say hello to Phantom.